And now, Move the Sticks. 10 takeaways from Week 9 with Daniel Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks, and Rhett Lewis.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. A big takeaway podcast ready to go today, boys. We have a lot of ground to get to. I will just add one thing before we jump into this. I had a chance doing the Charge game this past weekend against the Packers before the game to talk to Tony Romo, and Romo said that he enjoyed the podcast where we showed footage of him as a high school basketball player. He said he hadn't seen those high school basketball highlights in quite some time, so he got a kick out of that. And we talked for about 15 minutes, Buck, about not specializing in sports. He's got 3 boys, so he's with us. He's with the Move the Sticks message of get these kids to play multiple sports. Don't specialize. So I thought that was fascinating.
Love that.
How about that, Tony Romo? Tuning in.
Yeah, you've had some great conversations. We've gotten got some Move the Sticks promo there from Tony Romo. We've gotten some Aftermath promo from Al Michaels. You've had some nice conversations in your travels. This is good.
This whole Chargers gig is just a PR campaign for me and the Move the Sticks brand here. That's what we're doing here on these trips. But no, it was really cool. And when you have a bunch of guys working behind the scenes that put together those videos and hunt that stuff down, and it's David Singer and Nabil, Kent, Mark, all these guys that work on our projects.
That's awesome.
It's always cool when you get some good feedback from a guy like Tony Romo. So I wanted to throw that out to you guys before we get started.
No, yeah, that is pretty cool. It's really cool to acknowledge that, and that he tuned in. Like that's really chill. I like that.
Last thing I'll say before we get going in the rankings, just a quick check here at the AP polls and the coaches poll. If anyone could raise their hand if their alma mater is the highest ranked team in this room as we speak.
Are they in the top 25?
No, we're receiving the most. Receiving the most votes. Receiving the most votes.
No.
Yes, the Indiana Hoosiers are receiving 44 votes in the coaches poll.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh man, it feels good.
The coaches poll. Who cares about the coaches poll? Those guys don't even watch the games.
Oh, okay. You wanted to go to the other one? Got it. Well, in that case, we are receiving 27 votes ahead of Appalachian State's 5. Bucky, yeah, sorry, bud, not yet.
Yeah, that'll change after we beat South Carolina this week.
Okay.
All right, let's get enough
fine.
of this. Enough
fine.
of this.
I just wanted to check in.
I'll start us off here. I mentioned I was at that Chargers game, and my takeaway from that one, they found a running game.
I formation, Rivers under center, Derek Watt, Melvin Gordon, 7 offensive linemen. Rivers on a 4th and goal, hands to Gordon, pushes into the end zone, touchdown, Chargers! Melvin Gordon with his second 1-yard dive of the game.
Chargers have found a running game. Melvin Gordon, short yardage, no problem. Drop your pads and power right through.
Some good analysis.
Yeah, there you go. You like that? You drop your pads. There was not a whole lot going on there, just a little push inside. But that was a play where Anthony Lynn decided to go for it. Took points off the board on a field goal because there was a penalty. Was 4th down. They could have kicked the field goal, make it a 3-score game. Instead, they decided to really try and finish the football game, and that's exactly what they did. But, Buck, when you look at this team, Russell Okung coming back the last couple weeks, when you have a Pro Bowl caliber left tackle, that's made a big impact. Scott Quessenberry, who's been forced into action at center, has played very well the last couple weeks. And let's be honest, Melvin Gordon, his preseason is over. He's got his legs underneath him now. You're starting to see a little bit of that 2018 version that we saw. And you mix in Austin Eckler, Justin Jackson getting involved. This is kind of what we envisioned with this Chargers team before the season started.
This is what we envisioned. I think one of the things that Anthony Lynn wanted to get back to doing when he got rid of Ken Wisenhunt, he wanted to run the football. If you know Anthony and obviously his background as a running backs coach, he believes that the running game should be a key part of every game plan. And I think you saw a more concerted effort to play a little ground and pound ball. That'll take some of the pressure off Phillip Rivers. It will help the defense because they won't be on the field as much. And I think this was something that allowed them to really attack the Green Bay Packers where they were the most vulnerable. Hats off to them for getting back to the running game. They will need this running game going forward because it's going to be pivotal for them to be able to control the clock.
And outside of the run game, DJ, we brought it up in the Aftermath meeting. Mike Williams gets his first career 100-yard receiving game. Came at a good time, too. Those were some big-time explosive plays in big spots.
Yeah, you mentioned it, big spots. I mean, this is a Packers team that goes down, gets a field goal, has a little bit of momentum back. Chargers get the ball back. First play, they dial up a shot, and Mike Williams hauls it in. He's made a couple big plays the last couple weeks, and this one gets him over 100, I think, on just 3 catches. So he was very efficient in a lot of big play production. And also Hunter Henry being back in this offense. They had Hunter Henry has been down. Virgil Green has missed time. They've got those guys back now, and now they help in the run game as well as Hunter Henry. I think he had 75 yards in the first half. So Keenan Allen didn't have to carry the load for this offense, and it's just it's nice to have that collection of weapons for Phillip Rivers, who played a very clean game, by the way. Did not put the ball in harm's way. Very efficient, run the football, and I thought it was a real clean performance all the way around. Yeah,
first game as under new offensive coordinator with Ken Whisen on fire. It seemed to go very efficiently. Yeah.
No, I just really like the way that they were more committed to running the ball. I think that opens up some of the big plays in the passing game.
What you got, Buck?
Yeah, the Packers were flat guys. They did not play well. I mean, just to touch on the Packers real quick, not a great effort from them. They had no rhythm. So that is what it is. We'll see if they get back on the horse next week. Go ahead, Buck. What's up next?
Don't count the Steelers out.
Colts at the 20. Hoyer in place of the injured Brissett. In the gun. He's going to fake the handoff. He's going to throw the ball down the field. Intercepted. Running up the field. And that is Minkah Fitzpatrick. 25-30, 35-40. He's got nothing but green. Kiss him goodbye. Minkah Fitzpatrick, a 97-yard touchdown return with the interception. How about this?
You know, here's the thing about the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers are now up to 4-4. And in this game, I think there's reason for optimism because their young stars, their young defensive players are beginning to really step up and make plays. Minkah Fitzpatrick, obviously, with the pick 6, comes on. We saw T.J. Watt step up and make some plays. You know they have Devin Bush. Their young core is going to give them a chance to kind of still stay afloat, even though their offense is kind of scattershot without Ben Roethlisberger. I like what the Steelers are doing. I think they're making a more concerted effort to play a little more complimentary ball. I'm not saying that they're going to be world beaters, but I do think they will be a factor in the AFC playoff race, whether they get in as a wild card or not.
Yeah, look, Rhett, real quick here. Bucky, I'm glad you mentioned this because I had written down Devin Bush has got 66 tackles already, 2 interceptions. Minkah Fitzpatrick has 4 interceptions. Combined, they've got 6.
That's a big one.
Last year, this Steelers team only picked off 8 balls. So think about the center of your defense and what they've added. And I also want to throw in there Minkah Fitzpatrick, guys. The bonus money, the majority of his salary has already been picked up by the Miami Dolphins. Yes, they traded a first-round pick, but Minkah Fitzpatrick's 22 years old. He's got a chance to be somebody that can lead the league in interceptions every year that he plays. Impeccable character. He costs you next to nothing financially. I mean, this is going to turn out to be an unbelievable trade for the Pittsburgh Steelers, what they got there in Minkah Fitzpatrick.
4 interceptions in 6 games. And, I mean, it comes at such a big spot, too, with Hoyer coming in there. He'd already thrown a touchdown pass. They were in the red zone, returns at 96 yards. I mean, that was a huge, again, big plays in big spots. I think we saw that for Pittsburgh in this game. Jalen Samuels had a nice game out of the backfield. I think if you can get more of him in there when James Conner comes back as well, that gives Mason Rudolph a higher degree of probability for success in that offense.
You know, here's the thing. I'm looking at the stat at the bottom of our sheet. You guys were talking about the turnovers. The Steelers have 11 interceptions since acquiring Minkah Fitzpatrick. That's a ton of ball production.
How about that?
And I think
8 last year. Total.
Yeah, like the one thing about Minkah Fitzpatrick, like he was a great player. He was kind of like the Swiss Army knife at Alabama. But I think the Pittsburgh Steelers have gotten more value from him by just letting him settle in at being a safety. And sometimes you want to do so many different things with young players that are talented that you end up getting average production everywhere. By letting him settle in and just be a really, really good free safety, they have been able to get kind of all-pro type performance.
And the last thing I'll say on this game is this is another instance of 2019 in the NFL being the year of the backup quarterback. The Colts aren't in that game if Brian Hoyer doesn't come in there and give a truly more than serviceable effort. I mean, that was his first pass was a touchdown pass to Jack Doyle in this game. And, you know, like he by the way, he also played for the Steelers in which he threw a touchdown pass against the Colts a long time ago. Anyway, his career has taken an interesting journey, but this was another good instance of it. We're seeing it with Pittsburgh and Rudolph, and we've seen it now twice over with Indianapolis, being able to turn to Brissett without luck and now being able to turn to Brian Hoyer. That's good roster management right there.
I mean, that's a great point.
No. Well, keep us going here, Rhett.
All right, I will. Run game, Zach Ertz. run game, Zach Ertz.
Inside the 14 for a first down. Wentz in the gun. Wing to the near side. Slot to the far side. Howard stays to his left. Wentz looking for the football. He fakes. He looks. He steps up. He fires complete. And it is a touchdown. Zach Ertz.
I mean, that's just seemed to be the formula for Carson Wentz in this offense when things are going well. They're running the ball well. Jordan Howard, Miles Sanders, both averaging over 4 yards a carry in this game. You throw in Ertz's 100-yard day, and outside of the run game and Ertz, the Eagles had only 124 yards of total offense. Those two aspects of it were huge. Zach Ertz had 9 catches in this game. 8 of them either went for a first down or a touchdown. I mean, they out first downed the Bears 26-10 in this game. I mean, they were clicking when they had to be, and I think early on, we saw the impact of having Deshaun Jackson back. There seemed to be more room in the middle of the field for Zach Ertz to operate. Then Jackson goes down again, so that's trouble for the Eagles offense. They can't keep him healthy. They got no deep threat there, but they've been able to rely on the run game. And look, I think that's where they're going to find their success this season is with Zach Ertz in the middle of the field and with Jordan Howard and Miles Sanders on the ground.
You know, it's funny, Rhett, you talked about the run game and Zach Ertz. I took a close look at the Philadelphia Eagles last week, and one of the things that I said, if this team really wants to make some hay in the NFC, they got to make a commitment to the running game. When you looked at them prior to this game, they were 3-1 when they had run 30 or more times in a game. By committing to the run, what they do is they take some of the pressure off of Carson Wentz. They also help their defense because their defense is one that can play from ahead. But, man, if they play too many snaps, if they play too many minutes, they kind of wear down. By running the ball, it gives them an opportunity to play less defense, which gives them an opportunity to win more games.
And DJ, I'd love to get your thought on this last piece of the Eagles' offensive success in this game. You can run off 8 minutes and 14 seconds of the final 8 minutes and 39 seconds on one drive that ends in a field goal to ice it. That's not 4-minute offense. That's like double time 4-minute offense. That if you are the Bears and you hang your hat on defense, that's embarrassing. You got to get off the field in that situation.
Yeah, and this is this is an Eagles team that if you look at their best moments this year, Green Bay. You look at this game. What was the other big one they just had on the road?
It was just last week. Yeah. Can't think
it was the Bills. They went and beat up the Bills.
That's right.
Yeah, so these are physical teams that they went up and just pulverized. So that's their formula. We talk about it. We talk about finding your formulas. That is the formula for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I would also add, I had actually Bill Smith and Stats look this up for us, how effective the tight end screen has been this year. If you look around, some of the best offenses are really incorporating the tight end screen. And the Eagles do a beautiful job of getting that ball to Goddard because when you have him with his size, almost Gronk-esque, just in terms of how big and strong he is, with that much real estate, he is a load to get on the ground. So I like what they're doing offensively. You flip it over to the Bears, and I know, look, Mitchell Trubisky is going to be the punching bag. He's taking all the bullets right now. When I watch this tape, guys, he misses some throws. It's kind of difficult when Fletcher Cox is literally throwing your lineman into your lap. And I don't know who's making the line checks. I know they had Cody Whitehair at center previously. Now they've got James Daniels. It's hard to say from the outside. I don't know if they've got that on the quarterback to make the line calls or if it's on the center. I just know when you watch this football game, several times they're sliding the wrong way and they're getting overload pressure, which they should be able to pick up. Rushing 5 when you've got 5-man protection. Rushing 6, you've got 6 blockers, and there's tremendous miscommunication there because they're getting hit over and over again. And then when you look who he's got out in the route, every time it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, they're running mirrored routes across the field. Everything's at the sticks. The Eagles had a beat on it. They just squat and sit on everything. So, I think it's easy just blame the quarterback and move on. I think there's a little bit more to it with this Bears offense right now.
Yeah, look, it's one of the things one of the challenges that you have when you have a young quarterback. Like, how can you give him enough without kind of overloading his brain? And sometimes you do get those elementary type routes that you're seeing from the Bears. But at some point, they're gonna have to put the ball in his hands and they're gonna have to see if he can play because they're gonna have to take the training wheels off because his inability to really use all aspects of the offense is slowing the offense down. And really, I think the one thing that the Bears can do to help him, they need to run the ball, and they haven't been able to do it with Tarek Cohen and anybody else. Dave Montgomery.
You know who needs to run the ball, Buck?
Running game.
You know who needs to run the ball? Mitchell Trubisky needs to run the ball. That's who needs to run the ball. If you got an offense that can't get going, let him go. Let's have a game where he runs the ball 10, 12 times and see if that doesn't try and get this offense going a little bit.
Can I give a tease real quick? As a television host, it's something I often do.
Yeah, you're pro.
So
13 years, 14 years in the business.
I'm gonna save my take for the Mitchell Trubisky led Bears offense for when I give my take of the Deshaun Watson led Texans offense. Can I leave that one there hanging for you as we get to our next takeaway? Yeah. Okay, great.
There you go. All right, I'll keep us going here. Let me get to the next takeaway here. The Dolphins, they won the battle, but guys, they might have lost a war.
Back to throw, Fitzpatrick looking, flips it back, shoulder, caught, touchdown. It's Devontae Parker. What a catch.
He takes the
back shoulder.
He makes the tough catches. The easy ones he drops.
Hey, listen, I'll take that one right there, Bob. That's a touchdown.
All right.
Devontae's 4th of the year. 4th in 5 games.
I'll preface this by saying I was at the USC-Oregon game to watch Herbert, and Bucky, one of our buddies who's high up in the personnel department of the Miami Dolphins, was there. He'll also be going to the game this week between Alabama and LSU. I'll let you guess where he's looking at. But this is a team that has long been discussed as using that. Yeah, not corners. The whole T word and trying to get that first overall pick. I commend the players on the field and Brian Flores, that coaching staff. They competed hard in this football game. They got after Sam Darnold. They made the Jets look awful after that first drive. They really dominated a football game. So they avoid the winless season, and that is to be commended with how they competed. But man, the Cincinnati Bengals, I think, enjoyed the outcome of that ball game, because as of right now, Buck, the Cincinnati Bengals would be on the clock.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, you're excited about it. If you're the Miami Dolphins, you're excited because your team stuck together. They won. They bought into the process, and they were able to kind of get the rewards for their efforts. However, man, you're sitting there. You want to be at the top of the board, because we know at the top of the draft, the number one pick carries all the currency, all the weight, whether you pick or trade it off. But I can see why Brian Flores really put everything into winning, because it's hard to go a significant amount of games without getting a dub. Hats off to him.
Yeah, give it up. First career win as an NFL head coach. I think that's big. And you mentioned they're competing. That is not unique to this game. They've been close. They've been competing really hard for this. I mean, despite losing players, organizationally due to trades week after week after week, he keeps those guys ready to go. I think that's impressive, and I think he can be a guy that can lead a turnaround there in Miami.
Can I ask you one? Can I ask you guys one question before we move on?
Yes.
I'm just looking through the box score here in this ball game. If any of you have ever heard of these two players, let me know. Nick Needham had a sack for the Dolphins.
Yeah. Okay.
Jamal Wiltz, Jomal Wiltz. He had 9 tackles. Yeah. No, I'll be honest with you guys. Not familiar with either guy. So I don't know who they're playing with, but hats off to them, what the job they're doing.
I mean, this is also a point where you have a chance to talk about. Okay, so the Jets and the Dolphins are sitting at 1-7. The Jets are the one team that, even if they end up getting the number 1 pick, I mean, they've got some interesting choices there, because they're not going to be. We assume at this point they're not going to be in the market for a quarterback, so they could be in the Chase Young deal. And then that first 4 picks with the Redskins grouped into this at 1-7 right now as well, depending on who's in the quarterback market and who isn't, who's in the Chase Young market, that's going to be pretty interesting.
Very interesting.
I do have to say this though, guys, but before you move on to the next one, I watched the tape, and nobody's a bigger Sam Darnold fan than I am, and I've been on the table for him. And the way he finished up the year last year left me encouraged. He's not playing well at all, and they stink. They stink up front. They're not very good on the outside. But when you watch this game especially, there were plays where he had time, and he's not pulling the trigger. And I see a quarterback, when you see a quarterback whose head is all over the place, like he's trying to see the entire field, and it's like that, what they always say, you try and see everything, you see nothing. Mm-hmm. And that's what I was left with at Sam Darnold. Like, he is not seeing the field. And that to me is a concern, because there is some major regression there, and that could be kind of the after effects of taking the beating that he's taken behind this terrible offensive line. But, man, there were times in this game where he had time, and there's guys he's got to just pull the trigger. Now, they're not wide open, but there's some space. You've got to see it and cut it loose. And I did not see that in this game. So, if you're asking me as a Sam Darnold apologist, am I worried? Am I concerned? Yes. I would say I've crossed over into that territory where I'm legitimately concerned right now with how bad they are as a team, but even more so, man, I hope that they find a way to get his play turned around, because this is not the same guy we saw at the end of the year.
It's not the same guy, and I'm worried because of the giveaways. 9 giveaways in his last 3 games, too many turnovers at the position. Sam Darnold is old enough to have been able to hear that message and heeded that message. Just don't turn the ball over, but we'll see. It's a unique situation, what he is in the middle of in New York, and we'll just see if they can kind of flip it around and get the organization back to trying to navigate the winning track.
All right,
what's next?
The Chiefs are more than Mahomes.
2nd and 10, Chiefs at the 40 of the Vikings. No score. This is the second drive for the Chiefs. Vikes have had 2 3-and-outs. Again, a fake handoff. Moore at the right hash. Gunning it long. He wants Hill right side. Diving catch. Stretches for the end zone. Touchdown. Kansas City. It is a 40-yard bomb. Matt Moore to the cheetah, who tracks it, catches it, and dives it into the end zone.
I love Pat Mahomes and what Pat Mahomes has done, but I think the 2 weeks with him being out of the lineup has allowed us to see how talented this offense really is in Kansas City. The supporting cast that they have, they really elevate the play of the quarterback. And when you mix in a talented quarterback, I mean, you talk about going from good to great and great to excellent. And when I look at this Chiefs offense with Matt Moore, it just illustrates the kind of weapons that he has at his disposal. Tyreek Hill, we heard on the radio call, taking it deep. Kenny Stills you have Nicole Hardeman and Sammy Watkins and Travis Kelce and all these guys on the perimeter making plays. You saw Damien Williams go big with Shady McCoy still being available. And so when I look at this team, if they can continue to balance it out and really don't put everything on Pat Mahomes, they are going to be a hard out for opponents in the postseason.
The play that Tyreek Hill made in the first half, the 40-yard touchdown, I mean, he dove but landed on his feet. I've never seen that before. And then gathered himself enough to where he dove again to get into the end zone. He proves week in and week out what supreme athleticism can do in this game, because he has it on a different level than most folks here in the NFL. So, I am constantly amazed at watching that dude.
Yeah, no doubt. Here's my takeaway, and Buck, you kind of mentioned it in the title here when you talk about Mahomes. I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at this team with Matt Moore. And look at the last couple games for Matt Moore. Okay, this is against the Vikings and the Packers. These are not bad football teams. This one, he's 25 of 35 for 275, a touchdown, no picks. Against Green Bay, 24 of 36, 267, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Those are really good games. Now, the way I would describe this Chiefs team, you look before Pat Mahomes, look at the success they were having with Alex Smith. This is the Chiefs with the coaching staff and the players is a luxury automobile. Yeah. It is a luxury automobile. Now, the difference is you get Pat Mahomes' ability. Now it's loaded. It's a luxury car that you've added all the extras. Pat Mahomes adds those extras. So instead of 275, those are 375. Instead of 2 touchdowns, those are 4 touchdowns. But I'm just getting to the point of the foundation that's built without the quarterback is tremendous. And then Mahomes' ability takes it to a whole nother level. But I think the nucleus they have in place, take the quarterback out of it, this is a 9-10 win team, and then the quarterback's what can make this a Super Bowl contender.
Look, I thoroughly agree. I just love what they're beginning to do, and the defense is beginning to play better. This was a huge win for them without Pat Mahomes to knock off the Minnesota Vikings, even though it was at home. Unexpected to see them play well and knock off a team that is really, really beginning to emerge in the NFC North.
All right. Should I get us to the next takeaway here?
You teased it. You might as well go. Pay it off.
Here we go, man. The box score numbers do not tell the story of Deshaun Watson's brilliance.
Watson waits. He's got the snap. He's back. He looks right, fires end zone. Caught. Touchdown, Houston. DeAndre Hopkins with the touchdown catch. He will celebrate as the Texans go on top by a score of 25-3.
Guys, what we're seeing from Deshaun Watson is nothing short of magnificent. The Jaguars came into this game as the second best defense in terms of getting hits on quarterbacks. They got a couple of hits on him, but I will say this. I went back and looked at every play. 23 guys had a shot to tackle and or sack Deshaun Watson and missed. 23 guys had a shot to bring Deshaun Watson down. Sometimes it was multiple guys on one play. In fact, on the one sack they had, he got out of 2 sacks before eventually getting sacked. On all the runs and passes that I watched, I found one play where the first guy in on Watson actually brought him down. One play. It was Miles Jack. Wow. And it was on a 3-yard gain. There were other times where he slid, and that's credit to Deshaun Watson, not taking unnecessary hits there. That his elusiveness in the pocket, his awareness in the pocket, his ability to find a way to make a play at all costs, that both to his credit and to his detriment at times, dealing with certain injuries throughout his career, is to be applauded. And on another day where Bears fans are bemoaning the choice to take Trubisky instead of Watson, they should also look at play design. You touched on it a little bit there because they were extremely limited in pocket movement from what I saw with Trubisky. I mean, not utilizing 100%. His athleticism in the least, especially in the first half of this game. Where you go and watch that game in London, Bill O'Brien had Watson moving all over the place. Play action. They had guys that they had backfield movement all over the place that opened up the run game, by the way, as well. Carlos Hyde, Duke Johnson were terrific in this game. And without Laramie Tunsil, they had a tremendous game plan in order to limit the amount of pressure that Deshaun Watson got, limit the amount of hits that he was going to take, and put him in positions where he could get out and see the field cleanly, make a clean read. I mean, he was getting the ball out of his hands quicker than I've seen in recent games in this one, too. And that was a lot of it due to quick play action play design. We saw in the 1-yard touchdown to Darren Fells, boom, quick, pull it out, boom, ball's out of his hand in less than 1.5 seconds. I mean, that game plan and that performance by Deshaun Watson was terrific.
Look, they're going to have to continue to do these things because the best way they can protect their offensive line is to get the ball out of their hands so they don't have to pass protect for long. Deshaun Watson has continued to grow and emerge as one of those magical players at this position. He did it in high school. He did it in college. He's doing it now in the pros. He always has a knack of leading his team to the title game. And so when I look at what they're doing and what they're bubbling up, Bill O'Brien with the running game, with the weapons that they have on the outside, Kenny Stills emerging as a dominant number 3 receiver, to go with Will Fuller and DeAndre Hopkins. This is a team that is going to be a very problematic team to prepare for when you're another team because they do have so many weapons, and the quarterback is kind of a wild card when it comes to his ability to run and pass inside and outside the pocket.
2 things. Carlos Hyde with 160 rushing yards in this game, so they've got some balance in this offense, even without Laramie Tunsil in this ballgame. That's big. The other thing is talking about Deshaun Watson. He's the best in the grasp thrower that I've ever evaluated. In other words, people hanging on. You know what I compare him to? Totally different body types. But Ben Roethlisberger, having scouted in that division for a long time and seeing guys always hanging on him and him still finding a way to get completions. Man, Deshaun Watson does the same thing on a much slender frame, but it's uncanny. And we saw earlier this year one play unfortunately got blown dead when it shouldn't have been. I mean, if I'm Bill O'Brien, when I go talk to the officials before every game, I'm gonna be like, look, I know we protect quarterbacks, but my guy's different. So when they get their hands on him,
they talked about that in the broadcast.
Because he makes unbelievable throws. So that to me was another big takeaway from this ball game. And Buck, I want you to get to your next point because I do want to try and tie in what we just said about Deshaun Watson with your next point because I think there's a story there. Go ahead.
Russell Wilson is clutch.
First down and goal from the 1. Again, now 34 seconds left. Hawks still have 2 timeouts left. And Russell's going to empty the backfield. He's going to send Carson wide to the left. A tight trip set to his right. Turner is one of those. Hollister is one of those. Now Carson back into the end zone. Play fake to Carson. Hollister is wide open in the right flat. He makes the catch. He dives in. Touchdown! Seahawks! From 1 yard out, Hollister, the man that broke free from that trip set, ran into the front corner, and he was wide open.
You know, when you look at the Seattle Seahawks, it's easy to kind of just fall in love with all the things that Pete Carroll has always talked about, the defense, the running game. But now the Seahawks are officially Russell Wilson's team. Russell Wilson is the guy that makes this thing go. And this performance against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers really kind of let everyone know what he is capable of doing when he has to put it on his right arm. Look, 29 of 43, 378 yards, 5 touchdowns. We saw the clutch plays. DJ, we talked about this when we were talking to Jay Keep, how it seems like Russell waits until the fourth quarter before he starts using his leg. When you watch this game, critical situations in the fourth quarter, out the door, Russell Wilson runs. He really understands how to save his best pitches for those closing opportunities, and that is what he's continued to do, and that's what he did against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. When they needed him to run and make plays, that's when he did it. Otherwise, he stayed to the script, delivered from the pocket, and still had success.
I'm going to just pull this back. I wanted to tie this together.
Tie it up for us, baby.
Deshaun Watson. For guys, so for me, look, I don't get an MVP vote. If I got an MVP vote, it's Russell Wilson, clearly number 1, and Deshaun Watson, clearly number 2, which is exciting. I mean, when you watch the way these guys play, I don't think that you could take any other quarterbacks in the NFL, save maybe Mahomes, that you could put in the situations to do everything that's asked of them. In other words, I don't know what team asks more of their quarterbacks than when you look at Russell Wilson and you look at Deshaun Watson for everything that they can do. And in this game with Russell Wilson, I watched this game, Buck, there's 10 to 12 throws. They're just darts. I mean just ridiculous, big-time throws from the pocket. And then I give credit. Look, Brian Schottenheimer's got a lot of grief over his career as a play caller. I tip my cap because when I look at this team, they find stuff that works, and then they dress it up differently and run the same exact thing. They had some 3-by-1 stuff going where when they were seeing off-man coverage, they'd put Lockett by himself. They would run the 3 off. They could either run him on crosses or just get him vertically up the field, and they let him just drag shallow cross across the field, and he had all that real estate, and they got a bunch of big-time plays off that. Then they were able to find, kind of a quick little wheel route that they were able to get with Lockett. They hit that twice. They hit DK Metcalf on a 2-man route, max protection on that deep crosser for a touchdown. It's the exact same concept that they hit against the Rams with Metcalf on a deep crosser. Like, I like when teams have an identity and they know who they are and what they do well, and they just do it over and over again. That's what I see from the Seattle Seahawks. But, guys, all these debate shows, who's the MVP? There is no debate. Russell Wilson is the MVP right now. Put it to bed.
You know what? And that's not a slight on anyone else.
22 touchdowns in 1 pick.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, I get that. I'll roll with Deshaun Watson though at this point. If we're building a franchise right now, he's still on the rookie deal. I'm taking Deshaun Watson. But the other thing I'll say is we talked a lot about.
He's number 2 for me, but they're great.
We talked about DK Metcalf being maybe a one-trick pony in terms of the route tree. I almost don't care anymore because if he just masters that deep over route, he can win with that thing all the time. I know you're going to show us that a bit later in the aftermath as well.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's funny.
He's getting better, Buck. He's getting better. They ran a curl, and you actually saw him settle a little bit. So he's getting, you're starting to see some baby steps. In the meantime, the guy's a threat to score from anywhere on the field. I'll take that.
Look, I'll take it. I mean, he makes plays. And when I look at DK Metcalf, it's very similar to what Ted Ginn Jr. has been able to do in this league.
It's a great call.
Sometimes you just find a couple things that you do really, really well, and your coordinator only asks you to do those things. I think the Seattle Seahawks understand what DK Metcalf is. They're not asking him to do something that he's not capable of doing, and he's having a lot of success on those vertical routes. Keep throwing him the vertical routes until someone shows that they can slow it down.
And can we go ahead,
one
DJ.
thing, Rhett, here real quick. I think Buck, oh my gosh, this is Ted Ginn is the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids version of DK Metcalf. I mean, that is exactly who he is.
Yes.
That's the same skill set. It's just in this supersized body.
Yeah.
That's who he is. Where's Rick Moranis? Where's that movie?
Yeah, no, look, that's perfect. I think we end that conversation right there. That's a perfect punctuation to end it. You want to take us to the next?
Yeah. Raiders, they found a winning formula.
Jacobs, who scored the Raiders touchdown earlier. Williams is off to the left. Now Moreau will come in tight to the right. Here's the toss. Jacobs. Cut back, goes end zone. Dives to the end zone for a Raider touchdown. And now he vaults into the black hole for the celebration.
We keep saying it. Find your formula, and I think we've hit this a couple times on the Takeaway podcast over the weeks. The Raiders, when they can run the football like this, they commit to it. They've got an offensive line, one of the few that gets push in the NFL. They get a lot of push at the line of scrimmage. Even without Rodney Hudson in this game, they were still able to control the line of scrimmage. 120 yards for Jacobs, and what does that do? It makes life a lot easier on Derek Carr, who's in more clean pockets. He only got sacked one time, and I thought one of the cleaner games, more efficient games there from Derek Carr, while not being passive. I think they had their shots. They took them.
Look, I mean, this is how the Raiders have to play. The Raiders have to play. I mean, they have a small window that they can play in and win. And the reason they're able to win this way is because big physical offensive line. Josh Jacobs is a man-child with the ball in his hands. Derek Carr can play efficiently when the game is set up for him. And then they're able to kind of dominate possession so their defense isn't on the field. When the Raiders are able to kind of dictate the terms, that is when they're able to win games. If they're forced off of this track, they have a tough time winning. But John Gruden has certainly found that if we play this way, we can win a number of games, and that's why it's working for the Raiders right now.
Guys, a quick take on the Lions. You know, this has been a really tough season. They have been in just about every one of these games that they have played, and they have come up on the wrong side in some really tight games. You go back to the Chiefs game, go back to week 1, and the game they tied that they should have won. They have a shot to win it on the last play of the game and from like the 2-yard line, and they can't quite get in. But Matthew Stafford is playing maybe as well as I've seen him play in the last 5 seasons or so. Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones are underrated, one of the better wide receiver duos in football right now. That's a club that I think still has some juice, that could still have something to say in the wild card race if they can start coming up on the right side of some of these games.
Interesting. Every single one of their games, save one, has been a one-score
there
game.
It is.
Win or lose. They're in every game. The Chargers were the same boat until this game against Green Bay. Every single one of their games has been one-score game. And when it happens, when every game is contested like that, you end up winning some you probably should lose. You end up losing some you should probably win. And I think that's kind of been the case there with the Lions. All right, let's keep it moving, Buck. What's your next one?
Christian McCaffrey is the real MVP.
Double tights, both on the right, shoulder to shoulder. McCaffrey right up the middle, running free, may score to the 40, to the 30, foot race, 20 to the 10-yard line. Yes, sir, he scores a touchdown.
Foot speed, I mean, in the open field, just dragging for the last 5 yards. Adoree Jackson into the end zone.
Look, man, Christian McCaffrey has.
Wait, what happened? I thought we were just talking about Russell Wilson was
we already
the MVP.
settled the MVP, didn't
what
we?
Happened?
Did we settle that?
Buck's like, no, I didn't get my candidate yet.
I thought you were on board.
And look, I like those guys, but I'm saying in terms of who is most valuable to their team, I think this year Christian McCaffrey has shown he is the most valuable member of the Carolina Panthers. He does everything for them, and I think the thing that is really encouraging for the Carolina Panthers is when you look at Christian McCaffrey, I know they took him 8th overall, and they thought he would be an every down back, maybe. But I don't know if anyone could envision him dominating the league the way that he has been able to do it. He scored a scrimmage touchdown in 6 straight games against the Tennessee Titans. 24 carries, 146 yards. You heard the call on the big play. Christian McCaffrey has shown that he is able to do it all. And I think it's not a wild statement to say that he's the best running back in the league. I don't know if anybody can do what he's been able to do. Like this guy, inside, outside, catching it, running between the tackles, scoring touchdowns. He does everything for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, look, Buck, he's on pace for 1,762 rushing yards.
That's good.
He's on pace for 84 catches, 726 yards, and a total of 26 touchdowns.
I mean, it's crazy.
Good. I mean, he's having a huge year, and I take that back. Look, he belongs absolutely with what he's doing. He belongs in that discussion in the top 2 or 3, no doubt, in the MVP race. I'll still go Russell Wilson, but McCaffrey's in that. He's in the discussion.
And if you make the argument that no one asks more of their quarterbacks than the Seahawks do of Wilson, and the Texans do of Watson, no one asks more any running back than what the Panthers and of any offense of what the Panthers are doing with Christian McCaffrey on a daily basis. I mean, like on a game-by-game basis, he'll get you a touchdown from in close, from 5 yards or 10. And he's going to explode for one, too. The explosive plays have been game changers for the Panthers offense in a season where they haven't necessarily had a dynamic pass game. I mean, and everyone knows the ball is going to McCaffrey, and still he's finding room in the run game. He's making guys miss. And that open field speed, apparently second only to Adoree Jackson, who caught up with him on that one long run. That shows you how fast Adoree Jackson is.
Without question. All right, last one. This is from the big Sunday night game here. The Ravens, they outmuscle the Patriots.
Snead will break out wide to the right as they break the huddle on 2nd and goal. From the 5, Hurst and Roberts to the left. Gus Edwards behind Lamar Jackson in the pistol formation. Now Hurst in motion from left to right. Jackson with a play fake. Throws to the left side. Open is the tight end, Nick Boyle, diving across the goal line for the touchdown. Nick Boyle had never had a touchdown in the National Football League, but the 5th-year man from Delaware has just scored to give the Ravens a 30-20 lead.
Only fitting that the blocking tight end would catch a touchdown in this ball game, because this game was all about the bigs. Lamar Jackson was outstanding. His threat as a runner, look, he ran for 61 yards and 2 touchdowns, but you can find all the other big runs from Mark Ingram where he went for $115, where the presence of Lamar Jackson in the running game, having to account for him, was an issue for the Baltimore Ravens. And, Buck, I've played in an offense that where we're an option team, and when we would see certain fronts, bear fronts, cover zero looks, we would check to option, because what you do is you add another number to the mix. Mm-hmm. And then you saw in this game, the option was big, the zone read stuff was big, but the way they're able to manipulate it, you add another runner into the running game, and the Patriots never were able to figure this thing out.
No, never able to figure it out. And, I mean, it was problematic. And you could tell from the jump, the Baltimore Ravens had a great plan against the New England Patriots defense. And I think the thing that was really most impressive in the Ravens' performance, look, I knew Lamar Jackson could run it and do some special things, but I think what we saw is when he commands so much attention, it really opens up the rest of the running game for everybody else. We saw Mark Ingram gut the Patriots. We saw Gus Edwards have some big runs. This Ravens team is one that is really, really difficult to prepare for in a short week. I just think what they do is so unique. They are a challenge. I think people can catch up with them in the playoffs. But, man, in the regular season, if you haven't seen them, you're not familiar with the option read game that they're using, it is a problem. We saw that the Patriots had a tough time defending it.
Is it unique, or is it what we saw from Army and Air Force over the weekend? I mean, I was having that conversation with
the stat though, Rhett, Bucky, you brought up a great point. I don't want to let that go real quick, because you talked about the difference between the regular season and the postseason. And if you look at last year, look, I saw a Chargers team see this offense and then turn around and see it again, and I saw the difference. And if you look, I'm looking at the teams that they've played this year, and you look at some of the games inside the division. Look, the Bengals game, 23-17 they won, but that's a close contested game. The Steelers game, 26-23. They get their doors blown off by the Browns. Like, the teams that get more familiar with this offense do have a little bit better success. So I'm anxious to see, when you've played a team like the Chiefs now, they lost to them, was a good game, 33-28, but potentially could see the Chiefs again. Now you beat the Patriots, you could see the Patriots again. So it's fascinating to me, the difference between when you see this offense with Lamar Jackson the first time with when you see it the second time. It'll be interesting to see.
Man, it's so fun to watch, but I think it does summon questions of long-term viability. Is this something that you can coach your defense to deal with on a weekly basis when you only have 3 or 4 or 5 days to prepare? I think we saw, it's probably worth asking the question, what did the Chargers do, as you were mentioning, in the playoffs in order to stymie the Ravens offense? So, is there a defense out there that's going to be able to figure this thing out either within a game plan over the course of a week or within an actual game and game plan up some adjustments to deal with it when it's an offense that you don't see on a weekly basis?
Yeah, it's funny because I'm looking at it and it's really like a I won't say disrespectfully, but it's a high school offense. It's an offense that you'll see on Friday nights in terms of the read option game, some of the things that they're doing. But they put you in a bind because, DJ, you talked about playing in an option offense, and we've seen these games where option teams have these explosions because you just can't figure out how your assignments are supposed to go, who has what, who's on the dive, who's on the pitch, who has the quarterback. And so they do make it very, very complex and complicated for you. The challenge will be the Ravens right now have been one step ahead of the curve in terms of everybody. Like, they're able to do these new wrinkles each and every week. But are they going to exhaust the playbook by the time they get to the regular season? What's going to be the big thing that they can throw on people when they get into the playoffs to keep them off their scent?
Yeah, and I don't think it's not viable long term. I just think it's a question that you have to ask.
It's funny, though, because I had this conversation with somebody. We're so used to seeing offensive coordinators get credit for their creativity in the passing game. The Baltimore Ravens have decided to add the creativity to the running game, and I think that's something that we're not used to seeing. Their wrinkles now happen in the run game as opposed to the pass game, and I think it's one of those things that defense coordinators aren't used to adjusting to.
And DJ, on the flip side, for the Patriots offensively, kind of something that we haven't really seen from them in recent Patriots history is just running out the same personnel group on every snap. I mean, they were 11 personnel 100% of the time. Ben Watson, Mohamed Sanu, and Julian Edelman all played every single snap in this game. And Philip Dorsett only came out for one play. So they were rolling those three wideouts, Watson, and then they did rotate the backs a little bit. And they went up tempo, and I think you could see it affect the Ravens defense.
It did.
Especially when they got down deeper into some drives. But it might have also affected the Patriots a little bit too. I mean, you mentioned you saw it on the play before the Edelman fumble. Oh, yeah. He looked a little fatigued.
He was gassed, and he had just had a big play, and he looked over to the sideline, and Buck, it's one of those moments where I'm just expecting him to tap his helmet, like, okay, give me a blow here. And he looked at the sideline, and you could kind of almost see him say, nope, I'm going back out. So he kind of puts his head down and kind of jogs back to the huddle, gets the ball the next play, and then he fumbles. And I was like, that was a tired dude right there. He probably should have tapped out.
Because he does not fumble.
No, they typically don't fumble. Right. We saw the ball hit the ground more on the Sunday night game than we typically have seen. And I do believe the Patriots did stumble onto something. Normally, when they get out of sorts, they do try and ramp up the tempo because if you can get a couple first downs, you get the team in a static look, you wear them out. And there were 3 consecutive series where the Patriots had the ball. They had 2 at the end of the first half and then 1 to start it out. And we saw them make up ground. And so the pace allowed them to wear down the Ravens. But then the flip side of that is if you're going that fast and you're not able to convert, your defense is on the field. And in the first part of the game,
right back out there.
We saw the Ravens have a 14-play drive, then maybe another 12-play drive, and you saw the wearing effects of this physical run game that they employ.
Yeah, if I'm the New England Patriots right now, I'm legitimately concerned about my defense because this is 2 weeks in a row where you've got the ball just jammed down your throat. I am concerned. I'm actually encouraged by the offense. Mohamed Sanu was built to play for the Patriots. He's big, smart, tough, physical. He's a nice addition to that group. I mean, I think that makes sense. Buck, we've talked about this before about my kind of theory on where this team goes, and I think N'Keal Harry, you'll see him get involved here. But with N'Keal Harry and Mohamed Sanu, they're going to use those big guys to bludgeon people in the run game, and then when they start to go up tempo like this, you want to match them with smaller guys. They're going to out physical you in the passing game as well. I think that's where this offense is headed.
They're going to use those guys as basically quasi tight ends. They get the benefit of their physicality and toughness in the run game because they can block, and then the size. And so you're going to have to make a decision. Are we going to play the wide receivers with linebackers and safeties? Or are we going to put the little guys in? Eventually, we know how the Patriots kind of find themselves. The end of this month, November and December, we will see them kind of settle into a style, and that'll be the style that they employ in the playoffs, and you better have an answer for it.
Hey, lastly, because I know we got to get out of here, but I just, since we brought up Sanu, can we go back to the 2012 draft just for a quick second here? Because I am wondering, this is a year where the Patriots took Dante Hightower in the first round, they took Chandler Jones in the first round, they had 2 first-round picks, then they took Tavon Wilson, right, in the second round. Yeah. And then in the third, Mohamed Sanu went 83rd overall to the Bengals. About 6 picks later, the Patriots took Jake Beckett, defensive end from Arkansas. I'm wondering what the conversation was there inside that Patriots draft room. There's like, all right, we got a kid from Rutgers here at wide receiver that we really like. I mean, are we considering trading up to get him. I mean, like that would have been kind of interesting because you know that Belichick had his eye on a guy from Rutgers.
Yeah. God,
Yeah,
it's just
great
so
call.
All right.
That's a great call. Good poll, Rhett.
There
Good
you go.
poll. Anything else you guys want to add before we get out of here? Beefy show today.
really good. Really good show right there.
Rhett, anything?
No, man, I'm good. I'm good. I gave you my nugget. I was studying
You emptied the bucket?
studying the rest of this 2012 draft class here. Rhett Ellison, a 4th-round pick, by the way, of the Giants. Or the Vikings, rather.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, we've got a couple more episodes coming up later this week. I did mention at the top that I got a chance to go see Oregon and Justin Herbert. So we'll probably get to Thursday's episode. I'll have some thoughts on that and what the rest of this quarterback class looks like. We have a chance to preview that big matchup with Tua and Burrow, LSU and Alabama squaring off this week. So we've got a couple more episodes coming your way. Looking forward to those. Thank you guys for checking us out. Make sure you check out the videos, NFL.com/MTS video. You can find that Romo video. Kent early on the music today. That's going to do it for us. We'll catch you next time right here.
See you guys.
With the Sticks.